Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Oz Talk.
Welcome.
And we are here, Tori, today to do something that we've been planning to do for a very long time. It's taken quite a bit of preparation.
I'm so excited. And yes, we still don't have a Wicked for Good trailer, so this feels like just the right moment to put a pin in Wicked Part 1.
Exactly. And while we're looking forward to that, we do want to say that as we're going to go over, we feel like we've combed through so many of the Easter eggs. I think we've found them all. But of course, if there are any that you have seen that we've left out, please let us know in comments. John Chu, if you're watching, let us know if we got them all, or if anyone can get in touch with anyone on the team or knows any inside intel, let us know. Also, sometimes they're not direct Easter eggs, but they're more references, or they could also be some things that we're projecting on, because I think we're just so Oz-cessed that we might be reading into things here and there. But still, I would argue that there's a case to be made. If we see it, even if it wasn't intentional, it still could be an Easter egg.
100%. And, everyone's going to notice something different. If we miss something, don't forget to chime in. I feel like everything is an homage to Oz, so I'm going to probably read into way more than I need to, but I'm excited to go through the list with you.
Definitely. So as we begin, we do want to say that there are going to be spoilers. So if you've seen the Wicked stage show and read the book, none of this is really spoilery. But if you've only seen the movie and never seen the show, just be warned, we will be spoiling things that will be coming up in the second film, Wicked for Good.
So if you don't want to know anything about Wicked for Good, it's all right. Come back and watch this later. You don't have to watch it right now.
Exactly. So let's begin with number one. First of all, it's been oft reported, and it was reported a long time ago too, but people are kind of leaning onto again now that the word Elphaba, the name Elphaba, comes from L. Frank Baum, and Gregory Maguire was very intentional and creative in coming up with that name, because that name had never existed before.
No, and a lot of people who are coming to Oz through the lens of Wicked don't know that the Wicked Witch of the West was not called Elphaba. A lot of people are like, wait, why don't they say her name in the 1939 movie? Well, it's because she didn't have one. And also at BroadwayCon, he mentioned what her last name derived from, and that is, he said, the name Throp is the name that is the word, is the sound that your house makes when it falls on your sister. Throp.
Right. I love that. Yeah, it's really great. The Wicked Witch of the West has had other names, of course. Those will come up a little bit later in this presentation, but we love seeing Elphaba there. And I think it is also important to note that as Gregory Maguire's prequel novel, Elfie, is now available for order and for purchase, that Elfie is among the most popular pet names right now.
Aww.
Very cute. Next up, right away, even as the movie's starting and we're just getting some sound effect here, we can hear the bucket of water being splashed. We can see some of the Universal graphic here. It's not the typical Universal pictures being thrown here. We are seeing the Universal graphic similar to that which was in the 1930s.
It's so neat. And of course, inside of the Universal graphic, there's another graphic of a twister and a house, which leads us right into our opening.
Exactly. And I'll never forget, on October 2nd of 2024, when we were part of a small group in New York and LA that got to see the film really early, this was the biggest shout right away. I think we all kind of screamed.
Not
Uh,
only screaming, everyone jumped to their feet because the recognition was instantaneous.
It was just such like a quick, I mean, this is just such a quick nod and such an exciting way to pay homage to the 1939 film that is just was so delightful. So thank you for whoever came up with this idea on the production team. Do we know who came up with this idea?
No clue, but whoever it is deserves an Oscar.
There we go. Moving forward, well, that's a little bit out of context, so I just wanted to throw that up right away. But we see the map of the Land of Oz in the opening shot as we're approaching the witch's hat, and that's we're going to talk about the map and the Land of Oz throughout this presentation because there's a way to digest, dissect, and consider the map as is represented not only in Wicked on stage, Wicked the movie, but also throughout Baum's novels and other depictions of Oz in media.
And I think that we will be, I think that there's more to this map for Wicked for Good than people might realize if they don't know how the story ends.
Exactly, yes. And as we're moving forward, of course, we see the hat. Early iterations of the stage production did have a big hat on stage that fell down kind of like a silk. And the window here is almost reminiscent of the clock and where the point of the hat is kind of going in the direction of where the time is told on and the time dragon clock there.
And of course, the hat upside down very much mimics the shape of a twister. So when you see it reflected in the water, I think that's also indicative of how we got here, which we'll find out more about in Wicked for Good.
Yes, and we know from Paul Tazwell, Oscar-winning costume designer, that he incorporated swirls all throughout the design of the costumes. It's also throughout the production and set design. So swirls and twisters and, cyclone is all very much represented throughout the film graphically.
This is why I thought for sure we would be getting a framework of the Clock of the Time Dragon for the film because it was just baked into everything. Oh, I see what you have queued up.
Yes, go for it.
It's the Fab Five. And we're including Toto in our count here because I know Ryan will not stand for me to leave out Toto.
Thank you for that. I feel very passionately about that. I get so upset. I'm like, they're not the Beatles. They're not the Fab Four. They're the Fab Five. Let us not forget that in The Wizard of Oz, if not for Toto, Dorothy never would have gone to Oz, and she would never have discovered the man behind the curtain. Full stop. All right. And she wouldn't have learned to click her heels because she would have stayed in the balloon. So Toto's the driving force of The Wizard of Oz. But
kind of is.
At least in 1939. What I wanted to show in this clip, and actually this is kind of a happy accident that I cannot play some of the clips here because I realized that if we were to play some of the clips, they would incorporate copyrighted material. And then this video, Tori, might not stay that long on our YouTube channels. It could be taken down. But what I was pointing out here was later on in the presentation, we have a clip of Stephen Schwartz where he's explaining that he hid musical references from Harold Arlen's score of The Wizard of Oz in Wicked. And one that is new to the film that was not in the stage production is the melody of Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. And we hear it twice during No One Warns the Wicked. We hear dun, dun, da, 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 which is Ding Dong, the Witches. We hear that part right after the Munchkin, the little Munchkin boy with the red hair is running through the tulip fields and says, "The witch, she's dead." And then we hear that a little bit. And then a little bit further on in the song, we hear it once more again, right before the good news.
Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum.
Exactly.
Very interesting where that stanza cuts off there.
Yes, Ding Dong, the Witch is.
Ding Dong, the Witch is.
Yeah, so listen for that as you watch the film. That's very delightful to find. And here is one, Tori, that you saw it right away too. I know you noticed as soon as this happened in the film.
Oh, I mean, and when sitting in the theater, do you remember that moment? Because it was like, like gasping, taking our breath away. So incredible.
Yeah, and just really, and I know that in the commentary, John M. Chu, director, talked about how difficult this shot was to accomplish and how long it took to set up. But it just goes to show how invested and important it was to the artistic team on this film to pay homage and to do these little Easter eggs like that. So we see, of course, on the left in No One Mourns the Wicked, and then on the right, Judy Garland's double opening the door as Judy's about to enter screen there into Oz.
It's Bobby Cochet there on the right, filling in for Judy Garland.
And here now, Tori, there's a couple of these that I threw in here, which you can, feel free to disagree. But and I'm sure this is not one of the intentional Easter eggs, but I found the costume design of the Munchkins reminiscent of some of the Munchkinlanders in Oz the Great and Powerful. Not derivative, but just kind of reminiscent of. And so I'm trying to go for the deep dive here in the all things Oz fandom. And so this is a kind of a top to bottom, side by side of design work in Munchkinland between those two films.
I can see why you would think that.
I know you are seething with hate for that film, and
no, honestly, it had good things about it. The costumes were not all awful, but
some were awful. I will agree with that.
I did like the Munchkinland look that they established in Oz the Great and Powerful, so I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in there, but I knew as I was doing that, I was like, anytime I mutter the words Oz the Great and Powerful, we know how everyone and Tori feels. I am one man alone on an island.
Alone on the island.
I am, but I have to tell you, and I'm looking forward to, because we've been putting off our debate about Oz the Great and Powerful, but as we put it off and as I've rewatched it, I'm liking it less and less myself. So I still
our debate.
I know. I still have
actually, you were right.
Well, no, but I still have the points that I want to make that I think will, at least stand on their own for what that film represents, but that's for another time. Moving forward, of course, this was really exciting too, both young Nessa Rose and Nessa Rose at Shiz in striped socks.
Absolutely.
This is a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, scroll away now.
Although think about it. If anyone's seen The Wizard of Oz.
Yes. What happens
it's not really a spoiler alert. So this is kind of not really a spoiler alert for Wicked for Good, but spoiler alert. There are people who have not seen The Wizard of Oz.
And there are people who haven't connected the dots. They're like, so wait, her sister? Wait. So like, I get it. It's not, everyone's not going to, because not everyone is as obsessed as you and I are about all the details to do with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, they kind of go over their heads the way that a lot of the movie Grease went over my head when I was way too young to see it for the first time. Exactly. But yeah, here we see the future of Nessa Rose as depicted in The Wizard of Oz. But I love the Easter egg of the striped socks.
So
here, let's talk about it, because Tori, before the movie came out, we really speculated whether the time dragon clock would loom very large, not only in design of the film, but also in theme, in story, and in implication. We thought that might have been something that would have drawn more from the book, because there were so many religious overtones that they could have infused in expanding the plot. It didn't really seem to be mentioned or play into any more than is on the stage show, but at least we do really see it beautifully here atop Shiz University.
Yeah, now looking back with hindsight, I get why they didn't include more of the clock of the time dragon. It would have required a lot of time to explain to the audience what it is, because it's been so watered down from the book. There's really no mention. There's one mention in the musical at the top of the show, which is also, according to the time dragon clock. And of course, we see the dragon present above the stage, and it moves at important moments in the show. But it's really not explained. Nobody really, unless you have read the book, don't really get why it's there. So it would require a level of education for the audience that I don't think they wanted to pull time away from to explain. So I get it, but it's nice to see him there.
Yes. And I guess too, it would have required, including it would have really required opening up and creating new story, as opposed to augmenting the story that is already familiar and expanding that.
Yes.
Next, okay, here's another Oz the Great and Powerful reference, and this I'm sure is unintentional, because I asked Paul Tazwell when I spoke with him at the Critics' Choice Awards about Elphaba's rings and what if there was any significance to it, and he said no, aside from it looks kind of like an eye. You can see on Cynthia Erivo's pinky, she's got them on each pinky. It's a gold kind of like wrapped ring with a ruby in the middle, and the Wicked Witch of the West in Oz the Great and Powerful gets her powers from a ruby ring that she wears. And so that is certainly an Easter egg, but I don't think it was intentional. According to Paul Tazwell, Cynthia just wanted some jewelry. She thought that Elphaba would wear some jewelry, and that they kind of designed that together or collaborated on what that might look like.
I do think there are also designs that kind of mimic this design. There's eye references in the Grimmery. I don't know if those two things were connected on purpose, but yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with Mila Kunis or her design.
I know.
Which is my least favorite look. It's my least favorite look from the movie.
And I will agree. I have a lot of problems with the Oz the Great and Powerful costumes and design for costume design. But I will say that it's really unique or coincidental, let's say, a coincidental Easter egg that here in Wicked, the Wicked Witch of the West is again wearing ruby rings, right?
I suppose.
Yes. Okay. Here's one, and I will have some video backup because I was able to load it separately. But when I spoke with Ethan Slater about portraying, he introduces himself as Bach Woodsman, but we see here it's Bach Woodman. And Tori, I wanted to get your weigh in on this as a fellow Oz historian because, in Baum's books, he is the Tin Woodman. He has been depicted and called the Tin Woodsman in other facets of Oz, so it can be canonical, you know what I mean? But what do you think in terms of, I know this was just a mistake that his name was misspelled here on screen. And it's to my knowledge, the only mistake that I can really find in the film.
And it's such a minor continuity error.
Exactly.
And I'd have to go back and check the script. Was it written into the script as Woodsman or Woodman? We'd have to go look.
It is Woodsman in the script.
Okay, so this was a little continuity error. And to be honest with you, this is one thing from the film that kind of made me cringe. I was like, oh, come on, guys. I mean, I get giving Bach a last name, but why not Chopper like it is in the book? That would have been just as, Easter eggy and not as cringeworthy.
Yeah, I do. That would be a question possibly, for Dana or for, oh God, what's her name? Winnie. For Winnie or for Dana, why they came up with that last name for him, since he doesn't have a last name on the stage play. Does he have a last name? I don't think he has a last name in Gregory Maguire's novel either.
Not that I can immediately recall. Either way, it gets the point across. It's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Either of those last names would have had that same effect. I think this one is even more in your face. Like, you get it, audience?
Yeah, it is. But to that end, there is another more subtle Easter egg to Bach's spoilery future, which we can take a look at here.
Of Munchkin Land.
When we first see Bach in the film, he's introducing himself to Galinda, and he does this sort of lean move that was very reminiscent of a character from the movie The Wizard of Oz. I'm wondering...
was it?
Yeah, it was to me.
That's interesting.
Who planned that, and can you tell me about filming it?
We had a lot of conversations about silhouettes, and I had been doing a lot of sort of movement research, and I have this slight little party trick that I can do, the sort of if I only had a heart lean. And so we thought it would be a nice silhouette to open up my character in the film with.
Well, we all squealed when we saw it. Thank you for that.
Did you? I love that. To me, it feels like such a small little Easter egg that I was like so proud of and I thought was so sweet. But I can't really ever tell if anyone would pick up on it, Oh,
yeah. Come on. Those of us who know.
Yeah.
We got it. When room assignments are coming, we see the scroll drop down. It says Bach Woodman, but later you introduce yourself as Bach Woodsman.
Bach Woodsman.
What gives?
I get no respect is the thing. It's just I get overlooked a lot, and it is Woodsman.
It is Woodsman. Okay, so maybe it's a spelling mistake.
Slight misspelling. No, Bach Woodman is a distant cousin. Yeah, so it's just also
no mistakes, right? He's there too. Okay, very good. One of my favorite lines from the show. Okay, there's more to that interview, but we're sticking to Easter eggs. So that's the only part of the interview that deals with Easter eggs. If you want to see my full interview, it's on my YouTube channel. But it was just nice to have him weigh in on that.
And I love how he was trying to be coy at the beginning in case because he didn't want to spoil it. But
yeah,
he also seemed really proud that it was something that Oz fans noticed. And it's just that kind of level of detail and research and care that they all took with their roles that just Mwah, makes this film even better.
You know, Tori, I'm saying to him like, "Oh, we got it." I'm talking about you and me and
All of us, the
and
collective we.
everyone that's watching right now. We are the ones that were all into it. So it was really thrilling for us. And here, this was something everybody noticed right away because we saw this when the first trailer came out, and like just putting these shoes in the red, sparkly box is such a brilliant Easter egg.
This could not have been designed better, and somebody needs to make a purchasable replica of this setup with the box and the shoes. I would pay for it, please. Hello, Noble Collection, if you can hear me.
I know, but they would need to make multiple sizes because I feel like at least you and Tiffany Sutton, Follow the Yellow Brick Girl, need them in your size. I don't know if you guys
would also buy a wearable pair, but I would love a pair like this in the box for display for my collection.
Okay, yeah, I would buy that too. The replica for display.
Yeah.
Yes, and Alan's agreeing. We need those shoes.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
Everybody write into Noble Collection. Tell them we sent you.
Yes, they've got time, and they're going to be. We'll see them again in Wicked for Good, where they become a character unto themselves. And of course, we've talked about before the design of the tornado in the heel.
Yes, which Paul Taswell was very proud of. And this is not his first rodeo making a pair of silver shoes because he did the designs for the Wiz Live as well. So he's 2 for 2, both beautiful pairs.
Yes, exactly. This was one where I believe, which one was it? Okay, it was, this was the clip where they're introducing the professors and they mention as they're introducing Dr. Dillamond, they introduce Professor Mombi. And of course, Mombi is a reference to the character, the witch from the Marvelous Land of Oz, and is also portrayed by Jean Marsh in Return to Oz.
And they introduced her as the professor of biological studies, which I know could reference the book. But for me, what I took away from that was, Return to Oz all the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it was just kind of fun to hear Mombi. And I did ask Winnie Holzman, since she was going there, would we hear Mombi, but why not Professor Wugglebug anywhere in there? Because I thought that would have been the most easy, or the first go-to, since that was a legitimate professor and teacher in the Land of Oz, literally.
My headcanon is that by this point, they've reduced their animal staff so much that poor Professor Wugglebug TE has been let go.
Oh, very good. That could be. I like that.
The Wugglebug also gets no respect.
Exactly. Here's one where I don't have the video for, but what this was going to show was where Miss Coddle as Miss Coddle says, "Gulch, slight gulch."
Slight gulch, which is also in the musical. So I'm so glad that they carried that over, because I think it's even more obvious. It's kind of a throwaway line in Wicked the musical, but they enunciated it. They really, punched it in the movie. So I think it really stuck. A lot of people picked up on it.
Yeah. And so that's good, because that's obviously Miss Gulch. And just another fun thing, there were a couple Easter eggs in the stage show that they cut from the movie. That's okay, because we got other ones. I will
mourn lemons and melons and pears, oh my, until the day I die.
Exactly. And they filmed that, but it's not on the deleted scenes as yet. So hopefully someday we'll get to see it.
Hopefully when we get the giant 2-part box set that we're going to hopefully get, Universal, it'll all be on there.
Yes. Oh, come on. There's going to be, they'll have to do like the 10-year anniversary box set, the 15-year, the 20, hopefully.
We're going to be in nursing homes together.
I will. Seriously. This is another video clip where I love this image, and Tori and those of you that have watched the film ad nauseum as we have will know that shot where Elphaba's singing during The Wizard and I, a celebration throughout Oz that's all to do with me, and she's seeing one of her visions. She gets other visions throughout the film of Dr. Dillamond flashing forward, but this is a flash forward vision she has of Munchkinlanders celebrating her. And what she doesn't know is that they're celebrating actually what would be in The Wizard of Oz, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, or in Wicked, no one mourns the wicked, so that they're actually mourning her death, which is not a spoiler since the film opens with her melting.
Yeah, and I love that they showed so clearly that one of her powers is this kind of vague power of telepathy, which they touch on in Wicked the musical, but at the end, especially when, when a certain Kansas girl drops in, she has some visions there. But it's nice to see this as a through line carried through the whole show. She has visions. They're unclear. She doesn't know what they mean, but she's clearly having them. It's one of her powers. So I love that they included this.
Definitely. And here, we will hear from Stephen Schwartz coming up about, again, those musical Easter eggs. And in the Unlimited theme, it is the same 7 notes and music of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And this is a very literal visual depiction of the lyric, if happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I, as we're seeing little bluebirds fly over the rainbow here. And there was another rainbow, actually, I forgot to put the shot in, but there's
right in the opening, and you actually go over it as the camera actually goes over the rainbow. It's just perfect.
As we're hearing the Unlimited theme, which is Over the Rainbow, we're seeing that exactly right. That's one slide I forgot to add, but so.
Could they have, I mean, every time we talk about this, I just keep coming back to, I cannot believe how right they got this.
Seriously. And how much they care. It seems that they care about us. Like that was just, I think, one of the most impactful things when we all first saw the movie. It was like, you know, there's been so many Oz projects that have been entertaining over the years or that we love and feel nostalgia for. But this one fired on all cylinders of delivering to the big fans and thus also, you know, the greater audiences, but it just has so much stuff. That's what's so exciting about getting to, you know, dissect this all together.
And tastefully done, because it could have been very fan servicey in a very unpleasant way, which sometimes happens. They cross that line between, you know, giving love to the fans and maybe being a little tacky, and this avoided that. So right on.
Chef's kiss. And here we see the Deadly Desert.
Possibly too close to Shiz. Yes, I will grant you. They moved Shiz closer to the northern border than it was in any other adaptation of Wicked, be it in the book or in the stage play, which they do show on the map. And she still had to run she was probably running for a while.
Yes, several miles.
This was a long walk,
yes,
but close enough to within walking distance of the impassable desert. So,
well, if she did some unseen leap, jump, you know, soaring, maybe she made more way than
maybe she could glide a little bit.
Exactly. She was
like
defying some gravity that we just didn't see there because she could cover a lot of land. But it's great seeing the Deadly Desert. We saw it throughout Return to Oz, and of course we see it on the maps of Oz, and it is from the book. So that is a great Easter egg there. The witch's hat outline in there. Enjoy your air.
Enjoy your air.
Mm-hmm.
In a very witchy way. Okay,
we have a bone to pick.
May I?
Please.
Okay. There is an Easter egg built into Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, her nightgown. And I love the Dorothy braids here. But according to Paul Taswell and Cynthia Erivo, there are little Totos embroidered into this nightgown. I have paused this film and like expanded it. I put my glasses on. I can't find it. I know it's there, but I can't find it.
And here's the question, Tori. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did it fall? You know, that's the thing.
Photos embroidered and we can't find it. Does it exist?
Does it count as an Easter egg if we're told but we cannot see it? And if you and again, I did the same thing. I got the 4K, which by the way, the 4K DVD on a proper 4K, you know, I've got a 75-inch 4K and the 4K player and all the rest of it. It looks phenomenal. And I went frame by frame, combed through, studied, could not find a Toto. And you know, I have a Toto and I've got all the Toto collectibles I could manage to find, but like,
I know.
It's not fair.
This
isn't fair.
And it must be such a minuscule detail that only the people who've seen it in person would be able to find it. So my next question is to Paul Taswell. Could you just like show us?
Yes, show us, please. Is it on the ticket on the inside? That's not fair. Come on.
I just want to know what you when you say you embroidered Toto onto this thing. I just want to know what you mean. Just
exactly. Define embroidered Toto.
Yeah. Because, like, did you actually embroider the word Toto onto it, or is it a dog? Like, I just want to know. Tell me.
Embroidered with invisible thread. We'll see. I don't know. So this is the most frustrating, and yet it's an Easter egg. So
but she's still rocking the Dorothy braids, looking very cute.
Yes. This is not as much of an Easter egg as just one of my favorite shots in the film. I love that she has like the angelic halo. And I think that there are a few times throughout the film where John M. Chu really takes advantage of or takes a page out of the brilliant musical film director Vincent Minnelli and his love for Judy Garland and framing her as Esther in Meet Me in St. Louis, as he so lovingly did. We see he does that for both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande throughout this film in key moments. And I just feel like these are the kinds of things that not everybody is just settling on, but it's part of what makes the movie so beautiful to look at.
I also want to point out, we kind of glossed over it, but the bubble dress itself is an Easter egg because it comes back to Billy Burke and the pink dress. And so, Paul Taswell, again, drawing inspiration from the Billy Burke look. And it's just so lovely that they included that because, of course, that was not included in Wicked the Musical.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was the pink dress for Popular, but that was her only pink.
Yes.
This is great. And this is something we didn't notice the first time we saw the movie because you're watching the scene and it goes by so quickly. But as we're able to pause and look and see Ozma written throughout on the chalkboard and, the Great Drought and the Deadly Desert and other things depicted here. And building the Emerald City and the rest of it here. The timeline of Wicked's historical timeline of Oz is really thrilling. But again, just even seeing the name Ozma is really cool.
It's super helpful as well, kind of putting the pieces together about where we are in Oz's history. How long it's been not very long since the wizard has dropped in, definitely within the last couple of decades. It's, but this is at least the second or third generation of people who is experiencing the hardships post-drought, which is what dried up the deserts in the first place. So, we are a couple of generations into this hardship, poverty, xenophobia. It's deeply entrenched at this point. So the perfect time for a demigod like the wizard to drop in and, influence people, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, I'm reading this. I'm seeing this is Cookie Guy said, one of my favorite details is how the glass and windows show Elphaba's growth. She wants to close the door in their room as if she's hiding herself. Then at the end, she crashes through that window. Interesting.
Oh, wow. What a neat thing to draw. Thank you.
Yes, very cool. This, again, just another one of my favorite shots in the film. First of all, this is how you do
Poor Dr. Dilly.
Yes, but look how great, for the limited amount of CGI work in terms of so much was actually practically built in the film and that they did practical effects and the rest of it. But there are some CGI, but obviously Dr. Dillamond and the other animals are CGI, but they're beautiful. And I just love the lighting and the framing of this shot is so gorgeous.
And if you're wondering why they gave such real performances to Dr. Dillamond, there was actually a puppeteer on set with a puppet of Dr. Dillamond doing live line reads with the cast. So they weren't interacting with, nothing. They actually were playing off of a performer, which is, I think, really helpful.
Definitely. Okay, and this was another instantly recognizable Easter egg, this publicity shot of Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch of the West. So you have the colorized version here on the right, and Elphaba practicing her sorcery lesson with Madame Morrible and doing that iconic shadow of the hand.
And this is actually the second time this publicity photo is referenced because in the opening, No One Mourns the Wicked, there's also a poster of Elphaba in that same pose, in that same light. So yay, love that Margaret Hamilton is getting some love in Wicked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, here, the map. So we've got a lot of talking to do about this map because this is the first time we see it and it's exciting seeing it in the background. We see it a little bit more further away, but more focused there. And let's just talk about the map of Oz and its history because we know that Munchkinland is on the east because she is the Wicked Witch of the East. Dorothy's house lands in Munchkinland, destroying the Wicked Witch of the East. And there were times in Baum's books where the map was printed, I want to say backwards, but not really because the compass showed the east on the left. So if we look at the lower right here, we see Munchkinland in blue on the left-hand side, but the compass would actually show that's the east. They flipped the east and the west. So it's still the east, even though it's on the left-hand side, and Winky Country is still on the west. What Wicked seem to have done is to keep Munchkinland on the east, but make it yellow. They changed the colors. They made Winky Country blue, presumably for Fiero's blueness, as a nod to the book and his blue diamonds. tattoo work, but also his costuming. We see a lot of blue, which we should look back to that earlier slide when we see the Scarecrow on the Yellow Brick Road. Is he in blue or is he? Well, no, by then he'd be in green.
I'm pretty sure he was in blue. Pretty
Oh,
sure.
okay. Interesting. Yeah, because I think, but if he's an Emerald City guard at the time, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's going to be.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
he might have been in the. Okay,
Yeah, we will have to wait to see. But why do you think? That's my only speculation as to why Winky Country is blue, is because of Fiyero. Like, because that unless they looked at the map here and liked the colors this way, but wanted to actually keep Munchkin Land on the east or on the right and the left. See, east, west, right, left. It's all, what do you make of all this, Tori?
So from what I understand from the bomb print, I've heard some people say that there was some issue in the transfer and that's why the colors were flipped and that they did the actual text separately. It's hard to say. I don't know what the reasoning was for it, really. None of us know. We're all speculating. In terms of why they changed the Wicked map, truly, the color coding of Oz is much less important in this universe. I think they just tailored it to fit what they needed it to fit. They don't really emphasize it. There's no national. They don't really seem to emphasize it or put a lot of importance on it. So I'm fine with it. I know a lot of hardcore Oz fans are like, "Oh my god, the map's the wrong color." It's okay, guys. It's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. And I'm okay with it too. Again, this is adaptation. I think it's the same thing like when I asked Winnie Holzman about why she'd made a Professor Mombi but not a Professor Wogglebug if she's throwing an Easter egg in there. And she said she's not an Oz historian. So while she does things stand out to her, it's like, so for as much as they delivered to us in really beautiful, careful Easter eggs, they also are just kind of have the creative freedom to adapt and flex and create as they want to and work within the realm of Oz and change. So yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's just an interesting note to see that Winky Country is blue here.
Yeah, and she did say that she's not an Oz historian. And honestly, I think more people will pick up on the fact that Mombi was mentioned than the Wogglebug. I think Mombi is more well known because Return to Oz is more well known than the books. So, and again, nobody but people like us are going to notice the map colors and get persuaded about it. So
book readers, and as a matter of fact, in the Wicked novels, we don't really even see colors on the maps. It's we just see and Winky Country is Vinkus altogether. Yeah. So it's it's just really cool to see all the different versions as they grow.
Agreed.
About here, we do see a little bit closer up of Quadling Country and the colors there. The Deadly Desert. It's kind of fun. This is the Get Stuffed line is a great little Easter egg.
Do you remember in the theater, everybody was freaking out, Get Stuffed. Brilliant.
So funny. Yeah. And it's an Easter egg, but it's like, it's also a foreshadowing, so it's not like the heaviest of Easter eggs, I suppose, but it's certainly not an insult that is commonly known or used, but it's one that should be. It's probably a much more polite insult than those we actually use in the real world.
And Fiyero rides in on a horse of a different color, so
exactly. And his name is Feldspar, I believe.
What is it?
Is it Feldspar?
I actually don't know. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there he is, horse of a different color, which is kind of funny. He's got a bluish cast to him. Again, blue as is Winky Country, where they're from there. So that's on track with the map we see in the film.
And he walks with a lot of swagger.
Yeah. Oh boy, they are soulmates. So we were talking about, yes, the pink color being an homage to Billy Burke, and certainly the bubble dress absolutely is. But in this scene, in this costume in particular, we see both bubbles and butterflies, which are foreshadowing and Easter eggs for what's to come for Glinda. We do see her in the bubble, but also, don't you have this butterfly necklace?
I do. I sure do. That's
Swarovski
made that one. For whom Ariana Grande is now the brand ambassador.
Yes. So it's kind of fun seeing the detail work there. There was a previous, an unused design for Fiyero that had some straw work and cornfield work almost in his embroidery, but that ended up not being used.
Well, stay tuned for part 2 because there are some nods in part 2. We'll see about that.
I don't know that yet. Okay. It says what? Forbidden corn?
Forbidden corn. Forbidden Corn. And there is another Bach also has a book, How to Fell a Tree. So lots of Easter eggs here in the library.
Yes, all the real books. That's an amazing. I love that one for Bach. I didn't find that, but that you see that you can read it.
Yes.
I'll have to go back and
Zoom
find
in,
it.
but you definitely can see it.
Brilliant. And then there's more Fierro. Obviously, this is they called it the tornado wheel. So here again, we're seeing use of alternating winds and spirals and nods to the cyclone that is to come, and also Fierro striking a familiar pose.
And not for nothing, guys, this was all done practically. There were a couple of things that I thought were CGI were added in post, like the man flipping over the camera. That was all actually done on set, in camera, in real time, which blows my absolute mind.
Yeah, seriously. And there we see it again, Fierro in a comfortable pose.
Mm-hmm.
Their Crowian pose, let's say. And then
I
here's
love this part.
the gesture.
The gesture.
Over the heart. So that's a little sign of what's to come. Also,
we need some serious Bach and Fierro merch in for Wicked for Good. We got a serious lack of Fierro and Bach merch for part 1. So Universal, if you can hear me, please.
Yeah, I will. I want all the dolls. We need the dolls to be rounded out. We didn't get a wizard. We got a Metamora, but we didn't get a wizard doll. We need a Bach doll. I mean, we can't really play when we've got Nestros and no Bach.
Yeah, no, seriously, how are we going to have a play date with our dolls if we don't have the dolls?
Mine are all still in boxes, but I'm fantasizing getting doubles to take them out and pretend like
you need a Rosa in your life. So
yes. Oh my God.
I bought 2 sets of everything so that Rosa could have a set and I could have a set. So I have one out of the box and one in the box.
That's the way to go. That sounds so fun. Oh, Fierro's gonna lose what's left of his mind.
What's left of his mind. I loved that read too. Very funny.
Yes, so good. And the bow tie.
The bow tie. So cute. And a lot of people don't notice that Jack Haley as the Tin Man is even wearing a bow tie. I made a video about it like years ago and I blew the internet's mind.
Really?
Like, what? Because they thought it was they were like, no, that was added in. That wasn't there. I've watched it as a kid and there was never a bow tie. I swear that I did not superimpose a bow tie into
You're not making it up.
Oz. I didn't make this up. This has always been a thing.
Exactly. I love this. I may be reading into it here, but this to the right of Galinda here looks very Ozma.
I don't think you're reading into it. A lot of people have brought this to my, like, have said, did you see Ozma? I'm not going to call her Ozma because, of course, she's not Ozma, but she's very Ozma coded.
Well, yeah, she's Ozma. I mean, it's a green dress, a green flowy dress, and I just think the free hair and that headpiece with the flowers on the side and the band, that is certainly an Easter egg and a nod to not only I'm using the Return to Oz Ozma, but Ozma was drawn that way in the books, by John R. Neal. So it's like that's the crown that Ozma wears.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of, and here's another nod, I think, to John R. Neal's Dorothy with the bow here and how she was often depicted. There's so many. You mentioned the braids earlier. We see, I think there's a shot coming up where we have like the role that Judy Garland had as Dorothy that both Cynthia Erivo and at one point we see it in a flashback, but it's also, I think, going to be coming up in part 2, right?
We're not sure. I hope, because I really want them to include that scine.
Yeah,
and if we don't get it if we don't get it in part 2, and if we don't get it in the special features, I might riot.
I'm going to write to someone. I'm going to write to the president.
We missed out on shirtless Jonathan Bailey and shirtless Ethan Slater, sparring and chopping wood. Are you kidding me? Bring it back. People need it. These are tough times.
So funny. That's
eggs are expensive. Give us what we need.
That would be for the PG-13 Wicked film.
I'm going to be watching it in slow motion. Nick's going to walk in like, what are you doing?
I know, right? This has to be the best Easter egg, because everybody knows, we've talked about the lore as Oz historians and the great lengths and the copyright and the trademarking of the ruby slippers that Warner Brothers now holds, and how that's presumably why, why Disney paid to have ruby slippers in Return to Oz, why when Universal mounted the stage production, they chose to stick with the silver shoes. And then also here in the film, because they could have very easily paid a fee and made them ruby slippers, but it's so magical. Let's say Oz, to those of us where Oz is real, if we actually went there today, they would be silver shoes.
They sure would. They would. And, but I like them paying I took this more as paying homage. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew, everyone instantly recognized, and there were people confused because people who only have the ruby slippers as a reference were confused why the shoes Nesta Rose received were silver. Right. So I'm glad they included them. It's nice that they got a moment and a very obvious, fun, playful way, getting a little tap as she's singing.
I know that she actually taps them the heels together. It was like, I mean, come on. It's just, you're bowling us over here with excitement and Easter eggs.
And again, I would love to pick their brains about whose idea was this figured out? Was this Chris Scott, the choreographer, who decided to do the tap? Or was this Ariana Grande, who's also a huge Oz fan? So, I would love to know where all these things came from, but I won't bore them.
Yes, I know. Those are.
Where'd you come up with this?
I know. We'll have to see if we can, book someone on a future Oz talk to kind of ask them all these questions, because it would be fun to know who, how delightful it was. Because these are the things that had you and I had the luxury of being on set, we would have been insisting on those things or recommending these things. And I think that's what's so cool is to have it delivered to us in a way as if we had actually been part of the process, because it just pays such fan service. So yeah, this might be my favorite one.
Definitely up there for me as well.
Yeah. This is one now, Tori, I know you and it's like the hidden Toto. I have spent so much time trying to figure out who this guy is. And I think he's a great leader of Oz, but maybe this is a missed opportunity perhaps for an Easter egg if he's not someone,
My theory is that he's King Pastoria. Because she's putting him down. Did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh, because I'm sure the wizard has, gone out of his way to gaslight the people into disliking. It's actually he's called Pastorius in the Wicked world. And he's referenced in the pop-up book. When you read through the pop-up book, you see him kicking Pastorius to the curb. So, she's opening up this book and she's going, did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh. So it made sense to me canonically why she would be like, what a loser this guy is. Yeah. But we don't know. And I've zoomed into that text, and maybe it's just my old lady eyes, but I cannot read it.
Well, I have been able to read underneath his picture where it says something about Winky. So I don't know. I like the idea that it's King Pastoria or Pastorius, but I don't know for sure. We'll just, that's going to have to be like the Easter egg that could be. And so let's go with Pastoria for now, because that just makes it fun.
Let's ask John M. Chu next time we see him.
Yes. A closer up look at the 13-hour time dragon clock. Very cool design. At least we got to see it.
And if you guys did not know, the name of the time dragon that they've given the dragon at the Gershwin is Oswald. So hello, movie Oswald. Nice to see you.
So cute. Oh, and here I'm showing the twist on Cynthia. And of course, there was one where we saw it, the hair twist, the Judy Garland hair twist in Cynthia's hair. And we...
Iconic.
Mm-hmm. Nicky Dick.
This guy.
Yeah. I love this guy. He's a great actor. He's a great
actor, but this guy.
He's horrible. He's horrible. It's horrible. But I remember being excited for this scene because on stage, the design of his where he's bald from below, he's got hair. He's got the
little twisties on the top of his head that's very reminiscent of the movie designs for the Emerald City Citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the opposite of actual male pattern baldness, where he's bald down below, but has the hair on top.
Yeah,
it's funny.
This guy is less unsettling to look at, but when he speaks, crawled. Oof.
Yes, but a great Easter egg, and another way that Winnie Holzman brought in a character name from Baum with Nicky Dick.
Not that you would know, because he does not introduce himself. Oh my gosh, the poppies. Again, this is an element from the film that was not in the musical that they brought in, and I love it. And I know we're going to see more of these poppies in Wicked for Good.
Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, and we see them a few times. This is not the first time we see them. We see them as they're knocked over in Dr. Dillamond's class. earlier, and they talk about that being their favorite flower between Elphaba and Dr. Dillamond. We also see them in Dr. Dillamond's room or his study, you know, before singing something bad or
Yes,
after.
but
Yeah.
this is the first time in the Wicked universe, to my knowledge, that they've established that Elphaba uses the poppies to put people to sleep, which is, of course, a direct pull from the 1939 film, which was a pull from the 1902 stage play. So on it goes. I love that they've done this. I think it's great, and I really hope we see more of it in Wicked for Good.
Absolutely. And of course, this was one we've had on an Oz Talk before, because when we showed this earlier, it was one of the first Easter eggs that we were able to pull from some before seeing the movie. We knew that this was something that happened. And also there was a trailer that used Miss Gulch's theme, and Miss Gulch's theme is played throughout the score in key moments as becoming a theme for Elphaba's magical awakening.
And you do hear it very subtle, more subtly in the scene than it is in the trailer. They really emphasized it in the trailer, and they put it in the key that it's in the 1939 film. And it's in here, but it's at a very different tempo and a different key. So it's less noticeable, but it's definitely still there.
Right. It's more noticeable coming up when the winged monkeys fly in the Emerald City. And this was, I don't even remember. Oh, I think
putting the lion in the basket like they put Toto in the basket.
That was just to hear it. I think that clip was just to hear it, which I can't play. Here's another, sorry, and this is an unintentional again, but I'm drawing some Easter egg connections between Wicked and Oz the Great and Powerful, seeing Wicked on top, and some of the swirl designs in the production design of Oz the Great and Powerful. I know, but you know, and again, this is not a real. This is me just projecting and inferring. This is me reaching for an Easter egg.
Why must you hurt me in this way?
I'm sorry, but you know, but we also see. I think it is very whimsical. We see often in the design of many Tim Burton movies and things to see curly, kind of creepy, spirally sort of design. So I just wanted to pull it here. And also in the flowers in Oz the Great and Powerful. And as we see the flowers moving when she sings I'm Not That Girl, just that we see movement of flowers in Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
okay, it's there. Colorful flowers. The Wicked Witch of the West does carry an umbrella, and it has an allergy to water in The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. And here we see the introduction of an umbrella via Madame Morrible over Elphaba's head.
Very nice.
And then we have this. Okay, Tori, I want you to talk about this, because I was hoping to find a crane in the film. I didn't actually see a crane. That's a missed opportunity, because Tori is the crane dispelling girl, or I should say the hanging munchkin dispelling Oz historian of all. And you actually have some wonderful merch that everybody needs to get. The It's a Crane t-shirt. It's a
Crane t-shirt is a lot of fun. It's on our Etsy shop. Go check it out. Link in our link tree. But yeah, this bird has caused a kerfuffle down the generations. And
so
opportunity, or
yeah, well, yeah, we don't need to necessarily go into it, because hopefully those of you that are watching us, and hi Jacob, thanks for saying hi on your way to school, but like there's a lot of birds that we do see throughout the Emerald City, so at least you know that is a drawback to the Easter egg. We saw the real birds from the Hollywood Zoo that were on set in the making of the 1939 film.
Absolutely.
And here we see the 4 colors of the map, the 4 countries on the mailboxes.
This was such a neat thing to include. And again, not necessary, and no one will probably notice it, but we know.
Yes, very, very quick and very beautiful. The Wash and Brush Up Company, it was so fun, because this is something we don't see on stage. And so it's so fun that something that they can do in, you know, in the space of a song on film, where they can travel throughout the city and cut between different moments and locations. So to see them getting their nails done and the dancing and stuff, and just their wash and brush up was so delightful.
Absolutely. And the little capelets they're wearing, so reminiscent of the actual Emerald City costumes from 39. Just all of this. And of course, there was a little nail choreography that was kind of drawn from In the Heights that Lin-Manuel Miranda pointed out. Like, I recognize that nail choreography.
Is the man.
So, you know, this scene was delightful. My
favorite scene. Okay, now here, we haven't discussed this before. I've discussed this with other people, but including, that we knew that it had been rumored forever that Adina and Kristen were going to make cameo appearances. We didn't know, and that they might be in this scene as like just Emerald City citizens, like extras or something. How cool that they actually wrote them in and gave them moments and roles, the wise ones. But where I'm drawing to this, and this may be intentional or not, is that I feel like they could be, there's the adepts at magic from Baum's Oz, and or Queen Lurline, who was the fairy queen who helped infuse magic into the land of Oz. So that there were magical sorceresses that were ancestral in Oz, as is performed here, is an Easter egg to Baum, I believe.
I believe you're right. Absolutely. And what a joy it was. And again, another moment where every person in that room on October 2nd was on their feet, screaming, crying, crying. So excited to see them and so excited to hear them sing. And just one of those magical moments in a movie theater that like very seldom happens.
Mm-hmm. And then we got the Wiz.
Wiz!
And all the Easter eggs to do from the Wiz, you gotta throw in the nightmare material.
The nightmare fuel that was the Kaleida from the
Street
Wiz. But I don't know how intentional this was, but regardless, it's a cool look. It's really neat. It's also very commedia dell'arte, in terms of theatricals.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really, really cool.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Paul if we get the chance to again, but like I feel like it had to be intentional, because that is such, if we're going to talk about the costumes from the film The Wiz, there or costumes or moments or things that stand out as iconic and memorable. There are many things, I suppose, but like there's little as indelibly impactful as that moment in the film.
Yeah, well, we all had a collective nightmare after that scene.
It's so true. Yes. And here, of course, getting to hear Adina do that was just the cherry on top of the cake of their cameos, because that was not expected. It does not take away at all from the film or from what Cynthia Erivo does as Elphaba in making the battle cry her own coming up later in the film. And it was just so delightful to really let Adina have that moment and pay homage and give the Easter egg to the stage show.
Fantastic.
These designs, the hammerheads, the soldier with the green whiskers, and General Ginger's army in revolt are all direct references to illustrations and depictions from Baum novels.
I do really prefer the flatheads, hammerheads from the stage show to what we got in the movie. I don't know what it is, something about them.
Yeah, they do a little bit more Oompa Loompa-ish in the film, yes. I suppose. And maybe their heads are a little bit smaller, but I just love this design. That was something that we immediately got and was so beautifully tipping the hat to illustrations.
And again, this is all in universe. So, you could easily have the events of Wicked Part 2 going into the Marvelous Land of Oz and those events. And these characters are already here. The universe is built. So.
Oh my God, make it happen. Sorry, honey. Here's another one. I know, and I don't even like to look at this man's face because he's a despicable human being. James Franco as the wizard there, but this is the projection. Since they used the projection in Oz the Great and Powerful, we see a projection of the wizard, and of course he's saying Omaha, which is an Easter egg to where the wizard is from in the 1939 film.
Yes, that was very clever. Unlike most of the script for Oz the Great.
Yeah, fair. Winnie Holzman in a cameo, which is absolutely
Winnie Holzman! It was so good to see her.
Yes. And here, as we see, this is the passing of the torch, and we saw it previously with Stephanie Mills to Shanice Shante in The Wiz Live, as we see Cynthia and Ariana receiving from Kristen and Adina. It's just such a beautiful moment. And this is not an Easter egg so much as like, I feel like Cynthia is looking at the camera for a split second, and I love it.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I just love it. She's just looks so happy. She's this great smile, so cute. Just one of my favorite shots I had to throw in there. Steven Schwartz. I
Schwartz.
love it. I just wish that they had included Gregory Maguire too. He would have been a great cameo. That's one thing I wish they would have done.
I feel like the man who drives the train would have been a great spot for either Gregory Maguire or Joel Grey.
Oh,
But I really love here, not only is Stephen Schwartz himself an Easter egg, but he is wearing a costume that is very reminiscent of the Guardian of the Gate from the 1939 film with his little curly mustache. I mean, just
yeah.
instantly recognizable and delightful.
Yes, so delightful and so sweet. Sorry, honey, but they made a big
Sorry,
deal.
you're not sorry.
They made a big deal. Oh, so those are fireworks. I mean, fireworks are written into the story of Oz the Great and Powerful and having them introduced. And so I just think it's really interesting that we had a firework moment in Wicked here. So
Oz the Great and Powerful didn't invent fireworks, you know.
but they did write them into the story of Oz. The shape of the spear is very much the shape of the spear from 1939. I like that they carry that over. We see when live stage productions of The Wizard of Oz are mounted locally and whether they're tours, they often still use this. I mean, if you're going to do a spear, you got to do a spear.
Yes, yes.
Spear. But yeah, but that it's great here. Great Easter egg there in that design. We got it.
In perfection.
Yeah. I mean, just that shot, it's just, that's the shot that it just gives you the chills. And there are more. I mean, we could have shown more as they actually walk through the doors and they see the wizard and the bursts of fire. And all of that is so reminiscent to the iconic scene from the 1939 film, The Man Behind the Curtain.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. And here we hear Miss Gulch's theme again as the monkeys are falling.
Yep.
We see Omaha there, as we do.
And lots of Easter eggs of Oscar Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that is the wizard's actual name: Oscar Zoroaster Friedrich Isaac Norman Henkel Emmanuel Ambrose Diggs.
Very good. And then here's another one where I was talking about how lovingly John M. Chu frames his stars in the way that Vincent Minnelli did Judy, which is, again, not an Easter egg so much as just a love language between a director and an actor. Okay. This, I'm so angry. This is my favorite Easter egg of all. And I can't seem to find it. It's not that. It's I can't get this video to play. So I could maybe load it. I have a couple minutes to show. I was going to show, or I know you have to. You're tight on time, Tori. I wanted to show a couple minutes of Stephen Schwartz talking about Easter eggs from that interview. Since we're doing this, which I could do as I try to upload the video to this Easter egg. Do you have a few more minutes to stick around?
I am pretty tight, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to zoom forward then. I'm going to find this really great Easter egg as I play some of Stephen Schwartz's commentary here.
Based on Gregory Maguire's best-selling novel about the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good, it adapts to the big screen in the most astounding way. I'm Oz historian Ryan J., and today I'll take you behind the curtain to meet some of the masterminds who make this Oz more magical than ever. Stephen, we met about 10 years ago when you came in to interview about my documentary covering Arlen and Harburg, about Over the Rainbow in New York City with producer Aaron Harburg Yip's great-grandson. And you shared with me at the piano in front of the window at that time the 5 hidden references that you have in the score of Wicked that are homage to Harold Arlen's score on The Wizard of Oz.
I sort of thought when I did the score for Wicked that I would hide little references to the Arlen score within it.
One short day in the Emerald City. One short day to have a lifetime of fun.
In One Short Day, there's a piccolo part, and I insisted on it being in piccolo so that it would cut through and you could actually hear it in the orchestration where they're playing, "You're out of the woods, you're out of the... You're out of the woods, you're out of the woods, you're out of the woods." It's doing ya da 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 da.
So I'll be back good someday to make my life and make my way, but for today we'll wander and enjoy.
I only knew that because they started rehearsing just that section. And I went, we're out of the woods, we're out of the da 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 da. I was like, no yay! That's when you just go, he's so crazy talented. Like, his brain must hurt.
And then two are in the underscoring. When the house falls and Elphaba goes off to see about her sister, she leaves Fiyero there. As the cyclone comes up, the orchestra plays ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum. It plays the Miss Gulch theme. Da-dum, da-dum, da-da-dum. But it does it in a very kind of, it plays it in very sort of strong Mahler-esque terms. So you don't, it's, again, the rhythm is changed, but in this case, it's actually almost the same harmonization. And then at the very, very end, when you see the scarecrow, as he enters, it's playing If I Only Had a Brain. It changes the last note, and it plays it very mournfully. The one that's the most sort of famous and people spot it after a while is that the Unlimited theme, which runs through, obviously, Wicked and at several points. The first 7 notes of that are the first 7 notes of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. The tune basically goes, unlimited, my future is unlimited. So it's... And then it goes on from there. Well, Over the Rainbow is... So... Those are the first 7 notes.
I couldn't be happier. No, I couldn't be happier.
The one that was pointed out to me that I did not do deliberately is in Glinda's song at the top of the second act, I Couldn't Be Happier, the tune for which is going, I couldn't be happier. No, I couldn't be happier. And it's Follow the Yellow Brick Road, which I wasn't even aware of that one. So obviously the score kind of got in my head a little bit.
It's because of Yip Harburg and Harold Arlen's bass work that Stephen Schwartz was able to write. Couldn't be happier, couldn't be happier.
And the point was obviously not to steal anything, and really not even to try to sound like that score, for Wicked to be its own sound, but to pay homage to these two geniuses, Arlen and Harburg.
Are there any new ones in the film adaptation?
Oh,
really?
yes. Yeah, there are new musical Easter eggs. I'll just say to listen when...
And we've covered those. So I just thought it was fun to see him at the piano, kind of going over that. And I
love seeing those clips of Song of the Century.
Yes, Song of the Century, upcoming documentary, Tori, which you will be featured in greatly. And we are...
when Kristen Chenoweth was speaking, made a total butt of myself in front of her, and I will never forget that day.
I was so glad you were there. It was really, really nice having you there. Thank you. But I did find this Easter egg. So this is one that no one else has talked about yet. And again, this could be me projecting, but I absolutely love this. So take a look at I just feel like the choreography, the staging there. Did you ever feel that as you were seeing it?
I'm not sure if it was deliberate. I did notice it. I don't know if it was deliberate, but either way, it's there, and it feels very reminiscent for us, which is what matters.
Yeah. I just always felt like, oh, that reminds me of that moment. So it might not be an intentional Easter egg. It might just be something that happened, and again, we're reading into. But I absolutely adore that. And then I think we are at the end here of, that's reference to the stage show. And then here we go.
Continued in that same lettering with then the emerald, the emerald screen at the end. Oh,
right,
wow.
From white to color, which is just another great Easter egg.
So that is Easter eggs for Wicked Part 1. We have to do this again when Wicked for Good is out, because I'm sure it will be packed with Easter eggs as well.
Absolutely. Tori, thank you so much for the time today. I know you're very busy, and it was really fun to go through this. Everyone that's watching, please like, subscribe, share. If there are Easter eggs that you've seen or think that you've seen, let us know. If anybody has any real intel or wants to dispel or disagree with anything we've said, we're open to that too. But this has been so much fun, and we'll be back, if not before the Wicked for Good trailer drops very soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.